I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest that not many of you have been to Baku. I certainly never heard of it before I got involved in Formula One, but it was media day today in Baku for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And if you've got a few minutes to spare, I'm going to tell you what I witnessed today. First up, let me tell you, it was the windiest day I've ever had photographing F1. At one stage, I thought we had a cyclone gust. Well, for those of you from America, that would be a hurricane or a tornado gust. It was absolutely ferocious, and this fence didn't fare too well. I'm actually recording this video in the lobby of the beautiful Marriott Boulevard Hotel, and there's a very interesting story coming up at the end about one of my scarves. Let's kick it off with driver arrivals. I didn't get that many of them, but thankfully a lot of them did the track walk, and it is such a beautiful track, and the buildings on either side of the track are quite magnificent. But it's fair to say security was everywhere. There was no chance that anybody was going to get onto the track that shouldn't be there. So who walked the track today? Valtteri Bottas didn't, but he doesn't normally do it because Valtteri was stuck back in Finland with a plane issue. His aircraft was unable to take off, so he did his press conference via link from Finland. And I imagine he'll arrive sometime shortly. Antonio Giovinazzi walked with Callum Ilott, the reserve driver, and Fernando Alonso was out doing his track walk, and I didn't even spot Daniil Kvyat until I went back and edited my pictures. But yes, this is Daniil here over on the left. Lando Norris was out with his team and spent a few minutes up at the old town in front of the wall that surrounds the city, and it is absolutely beautiful. And look on the back here, there's even some scaffolding for us photographers to go up there and shoot. Now in the past, we had to walk over probably a 5-metre drop on a wooden plank with camera kit. It was terrifying, but that's not the case anymore, so thank you to the Baku City Circuit for sorting that mess out. The marshals were dropped off in buses all around the track, and they took a real shine to the drivers, and the drivers like Mick Schumacher, he stopped for selfies. I don't think anyone was getting autographs. This is the joys of shooting in a lobby. Nikita Mazepin was popular. Obviously, the locals here have an affinity with Russia. Esteban Ocon walked the track. Yuki Tsunoda, quite like these shots of Yuki, shot down low with a wide-angle lens where he appears to be much taller than those turrets there on the wall. Didn't see Charles Leclerc out there, and didn't see Carlos Sainz either. Maybe they're doing their track walk this evening, which is often the case with Ferrari. They do it at the end of the day. Both of the Aston Martin drivers walked the track, and I'm not sure about these green shirts that Seb and Lance wear. They don't have any collar on them, and they look like something that you'd get on an airline to sleep in. Not a fan of them. So that's a complete list of drivers who walked the track. And of course there were some F2 drivers that you may know. Oscar Piastri, Australian lad from Melbourne, doing pretty well this year in the championship, trained by Kim Keedle, Roman Grosjean's ex-trainer. He was walking. His teammate Robert Schwartzman, and a couple of the other boys. But I spent a bit of time up in that Old Town area, and there was a lot of interest in turn 8 on the inside. There was previously a curb, and you might remember that that turn is where Charles Leclerc ended up in the fence on the outside of the track and remarked over the team radio, "I am stupid, I am stupid." Well, there was much interest in that because that curb has gone. They say that's going to increase the car speeds by about 15 kilometres an hour. It's still a dangerous corner because it is very tight and there is very little margin for error. So come quali, it's going to be interesting to be sat out there, and I'll be shooting FP2 tomorrow from the roof of the cinema, which is a great spot, and ideally you'd want to shoot that from there in quali, but if you get up there for quali, you've no chance of getting back to Parc Fermé to catch shots of the top 3 drivers. It's such a tricky track to get around. Thankfully, down the boulevard, we get these golf buggies that take us from one end to the other, and it's a couple of kilometre drive. Lots of TV networks out doing their pieces from the track today, and I couldn't believe Rachel Brooks was walking the track in high heels, and I thought, well, maybe she'll just do a couple of corners and take them off because I knew she had flat shoes in the bag. But I saw her at turn 8 and she still had them on, so kudos to Rachel for walking the track in high heels. That cannot be comfortable or easy. When taking a taxi in dodgy countries where you agree on a price up front and pay at the end, always pay with the correct money. If you give them more and expect some change, there's a chance they'll say, "No, I quoted more," or "Sorry, I don't have any change." Giving them the correct money avoids all that drama at the end of your ride. On Thursday, the drivers all have to front up for a press conference, and they do them in pairs. And thankfully, they do them in this room here, which is not more than 40 metres away from my desk here in the media centre. So the beauty of that is that as soon as we hear the last question asked, we can duck outside and catch shots of the drivers coming out, and it saves a whole lot of waiting. But Daniel and Pierre were together. They asked Daniel, and in fact they asked a lot of drivers about mental health in sport. And this was brought about because of the situation with Naomi Osaka, the tennis player who pulled out of the French Open. It was quite an interesting series of responses, and maybe you've already seen them, but both Daniel and Pierre answered those questions in the press conference and then walked back, still chatting, all the way back to the paddock. Now, I was going to mention something there. Pierre. I posted a picture during the week of Pierre standing next to Daniel Ricciardo on the grid in Monaco. I couldn't believe the size difference. Pierre's really bulked up, and I think Daniel might have trimmed down a little bit. So to me, there was a big difference in the size of the two drivers. And at the end of the day, Pierre was heading out for a run with his trainer, Piru. I know that Piru lives in Dubai, and I can tell you that there's been some real dramas with getting to and from the next race, being France, because France has put Turkey on a red list, and you can't even transit through Turkey. Now, a lot of F1 people were using that route, and I was too, but if I had gone through Turkey, I would have had to quarantine, mandatory quarantine in France, and that would have ruled me out for the race. So instead now I have to go to Moscow and then Paris and then take another flight to Nice. So it's a roundabout way, and it's affected a lot of people. Anyone who lived in Dubai now can't go back to Dubai because they're on the red list, and so they're going to have to make alternative travel plans. And as Britta, Seb's manager, said today, it's just been an absolute nightmare for everybody. And I expected some inconvenience along the way, and I think having got through to what will be round 6, it's not a bad effort without any drama. I mentioned this in my video the other day, but about half the drivers stay at the Marriott and half at the Hilton, and they're at either ends of the paddock. So I chose to hang around the Hilton today, but Lewis comes from the Marriott. I missed him arrive, but I did catch him coming out of the press conference and was most interested in his shoes. They looked to be a collaboration with Helly Hansen and Puma. Of course, there was plenty of activity going on the track with last-minute preparations. Sign writing was happening. They were tightening up bolts on the fences to make them secure. And then there were driver posters all the way around the track at regular intervals. A fellow countryman of mine, Michael Massey, was doing his track inspection. Normally they walk, but this time he was on buggies, and they had a little convoy of buggies going out there. It was quite impressive. I think it's fair to say too that there is a reduction in the number of journalists and photographers at this race, partly because of those travel problems I just mentioned. So the media centre was quite lightly populated. If you've watched many of my videos, you'll know I've got a bit of a passion for I'll just let him say it. And given that I'm away for so long from Australia this year, I could only take 2 with me. Now, one of them was this lovely Louis Vuitton, and you might have seen this in some of my videos. However, you will see it in no future videos because inadvertently the laundry here at the Marriott Boulevard Hotel put it in the wash instead of dry cleaning it, hence it shrunk. But I'm delighted to say that the management have said, fine, we'll replace it. Well, in fact, we can't actually replace it, so they're giving me a refund. I'm going to go buy something else. So this I will give to the hotel because effectively they've bought it. But yeah, very sad to see this one go because it was nice and warm. So now it's time to say goodbye to this beautiful scarf. I'll collect?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sorry again. And
now, you may as well have this. This is for you because you've effectively bought it. I'm going to go out and spend this on another one, and I think that's a good story.
I'm holding the most expensive scarf.
No, I have
For him, it's the most expensive. For me,
and, it's now discontinued, so I can't even replace it. So I'll have to get something else. So there you go.
You're looking like a football fan.
I give you this. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do as you wish with it. But it'll be a good PR story for
I
you.
think so, huh? Nice to meet you.
So these two gentlemen and the hotel now own this beautiful Louis Vuitton scarf that I so loved.
Sold at special rate.
It's nearly the end, so I'll say, if you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so. Join as a member and get some freebies. You'll love them. You'll find my best pictures available for digital download for both personal and editorial use at prostarpics.com. you can order one of my F1 driver books and some new Kim Illman merchandise at kimillman.com. And for my best pics live from the track and all during the week, head to Instagram at Kim Illman. Thanks for watching and stay passionate. And that beeping is the teller machine. And that beeping is the teller machine.